Hey guys, I'm jon-dean, and in this quick video we're going to start looking at the competition. Now there's a few important aspects we need to think about when weighing up the competition. We need to look at the volume and we need to look at the strength of the competition. Now luckily for us, Market Samurai allows us to quickly look at both the strength of the competition and the volume of the competition, so we can use this great tool to help us make our decision. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So what we need to talk about is the two aspects of competition. The first aspect is the volume of competition, and this is the amount of people that you're actually competing against for your keyword. The second aspect is the strength of a competition, and this is when you get to page 1, how strong the other 10 people are on the first page of the search results, and how easy it will be for you to take one of their spots in the top 10. Now, to try and explain this in an easier real life way, I'm going to take the example of Ed. Now, Ed is a huge Glee fan. He's a massive Gleek, and he just loves all things Glee. Now, if Ed was to go to a Glee concert, the place he'll want to be at that Glee concert is at the very front row, as close as he can get to the cast of Glee, so he can soak up every song and dance routine that they're doing live on stage right in front of him. Now, if we look at the strength of the competition for that standing at the front row of a Glee concert for Ed, well, ideally the strength of the competition is going to be a load of screaming teenage girls. Now, Ed, being Ed, he can easily bulldoze his way through that crowd, through that front row of teenage girls, and he can get to the front. So the strength of the competition there, Ed versus some teenage girls, it's no contest. Ed's going to win hands down every single time. However, if he actually wants to get up on the stage and dance along and sing along with his idols, Kurt and Puck and Rachel and all the rest of the gang, he's going to have to get past one of these guys or a team of these guys, which are the concert security staff. They're the barrier between the fans and the talent up on stage. Now, how easy will that be for Ed to get past 20 of these guys? The answer is not easy at all. Now, Ed's no contest against teenage girls, but against some big burly security bouncer types, he's going to come off the loser. So if you think about your strength of the competition, so the top 10 on page 1, as Ed versus a teenage girl or Ed versus a security bouncer, that's kind of the balance that we have to weigh up. So when we get to page 1, will the competition be easy to take, or will it be difficult to take? So that's the strength of the competition. Now let's think about the volume of competition. It's all well and good having a nice easy top 10 to take over, so a row of teenage girls at the front of the Glee concert. But in order to get to the front row, in order to get to page 1, Ed has got to get through thousands and thousands of thousands of other Glee fans. And that's the volume of the competition. So let's just say it's a small venue with only 500 people in the crowd. Now, Ed's going to be able to get through that crowd of people to the front, and then he's going to be able to push out of the way all those teenage girls on the front row, and he's going to be able to get to the front. And it's the same with competition on the internet. If you have a small volume of competition, you're going to be able to get to page 1 quicker and easier. And then if page 1 has a small strength of competition, so a lower strength, so if they're all teenage girls, then Ed's going to be able to take one of those positions. So the whole ideal scenario is to have a small crowd, and then right at the front of the crowd, the spot where you want to be, weak competition. If you've got a huge crowd of thousands to get through, and then once you get to the front, you've then got a big row of security guards, Well, first of all, you're never going to get to the front row before the concert finishes, and secondly, you're never going to get past those big burly bouncers. So if we think about this now, flipping back to our keywords and the research that we're doing, let's nip inside Market Samurai and take a look at what this means for us. So if we have a look here, we've got a keyword which is surfing tips for beginners, and I'm in the keyword research module, and you can see over here we have an SEOC, which is our SEO competition, of 66,400. Now that is out of range for us in the challenge, because the upper limit we want is no more than 30,000. If you think of these 66,400 other competing sites, we're going to have to get through a massive crowd of people in order to get just to page 1. It's going to take a lot of time and it's going to take a lot of effort. So that is the volume of the competition. We want this volume to be as low as possible. It's the crowd of people we've got to get through in order to get to the front page. If we go across to the SEO competition module, we're then able to see the strength of the competition. Now, a word of warning before we start looking at the actual strength. Up at the top on Market Samurai, we have a massive amount of checkboxes. They cover a whole range of different things, and if you have all these boxes checked, it can be quite confusing and it can be quite distracting. Now, for the purposes of the challenge, and this is how we're looking at SEO competition through our challenge filters, we're only concerned with 5 boxes to check. The first one is page rank. The second one is the number of backlinks going to the page, which is BLP. The third one is whether the competitor is listed in the Yahoo directory. The fourth one is whether the keyword is in the title. And the last one is whether the keyword is in the URL. So uncheck every other box that's on there and only check those 5 options. That's all we're concerned with in the challenge. Once you've checked only those 5 boxes, then hit this generate results button, and Market Samurai will go away and it will have a look at the top 10 for that keyword, and it will assess the strength of the competition. Okay, Market Samurai has now returned back its data, and as we can see here, we have our top 10. So this is the front row of our concert. On the right hand side, for this session, we're not concentrating on the numbers, I'm just explaining the principles. In another video, we're actually going to delve into the numbers and actually go take that next step. But for now, we just want to get used to having a look at this top 10 and seeing what it actually means. Now you'll see that Market Samurai has returned back some numbers, and they're either been flagged as green or yellow. The Market Samurai will also flag something as red. Now, if you get something that's green, it means it's weaker, it's easier. If you get something at yellow, it's getting harder, and if it's red, then it's really quite hard to take. So if you think of this, if you have a look at, we've got position 3, and we've got position 4, position 7, and position 10, and they are all green. There's no yellow on them at all, there's no red on them at all. Those green ones are the weaker competitions. Those are the teenage girls that Ed's going to be able to barge past. If any of these are red, then those are going to be the difficult ones that it's going to be really hard to get past. For example, if I flick over to another keyword, dog training, you can see here in the SEO competition there's a lot of red and there's a lot of yellow. Those are those big burly bouncers that Ed is not going to be able to get past. So Market Samurai allows us to look at both the volume of the competition and also the strength of the competition. And what we're looking for on the challenge is for the lowest volume as possible and no higher than 30,000, and the weakest competition as possible on page 1. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video, to explain the differences between the volume of competition and the strength of the competition. And your action point for today is to go and start using the SEO competition module, just checking the 5 boxes of page rank, backlinks to the page, Yahoo directory, keyword in title and keyword in URL, and start to get used to the results that are coming back and assess them whether they're green or yellow or red. Ideally we want them to be nice and green, and in a future video we'll actually look at the figures more in depth and talk about how to move forward into the next steps.